Hey guys, what's up? It's Dave. We are going to go through the heavyweights of the QQQ, basically the SPY as well. These names over here: Microsoft, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, Broadcom, Meta, Netflix, Tesla, Google, CrowdStrike, now ServiceNow, Palantir, and Hood. Palantir and Hood, they're not the top 11 here. However, these are two other names that I really focus on and just trade. But these are the top names that I consistently track and trade. So if you also are interested in these names, go ahead and follow along. I provide technical analysis and insights every week on these. And very active on X as well. So give me a follow on there if you are interested in these names at all. I do frequent updates. Okay, anyways, let's get to it. Let's look at the Qs here. You can see that the Qs ever since Wednesday, we've had a nice little pullback. From the high to the low, we've had a 1.3% pullback. By a close, we're probably 1% away from the highs. That's nothing crazy there. Maybe we have a quote-unquote bull flag setting up here, a pullback buy. This is the 8 EMA. This is the 21 EMA. This is the 50 EMA. So things are trending upwards, right? I feel like that's pretty obvious. And as long as dips continue to be bought, higher highs are being made, we look for higher lows to continue to be made. So we have no idea how far this will actually go down. A lot of people use EMAs, but I just use them as a reference. You can see that these are obviously still trend tracking. So strong market so far. Let's go to Microsoft. Number one, heaviest of the weights, unless something's changed since the last time I looked. This was earnings. It just sold off, left a big old pivot on gap here from 731 on earnings day. Has not been able to clear that. Has set a lower high versus this here. And we still have a little bit of an earnings gap yet to fill. The 21 EMA is now above that earnings gap, if that means anything to you. I am not personally interested in this name just yet. I did take a shot at it on the long side. I think it was Monday or Tuesday last week, and I got stopped out on Wednesday for a small gain as I trail below this blue box when it's going up. That's a 3-day pivot. Other than that, though, I'm not interested in a long as long as price is below this. And I'm also not interested in shorting this name at all, or shorting this market right now. I need a lot more confidence on the bear side to be able to initiate a short. Moving on, Nvidia. You can see this has just kind of been consolidating. One might call this a bull flag. But it's pretty rangy. It's been pretty choppy the past few days. Pulling back, the 21 EMA is catching up. You can see that every time it gets close to the 21 EMA, like here and here, it's kind of getting there. I don't know. This is completely subjective, so take this with a grain of salt. Either way, it comes close to it. There might be some sort of MA it's respecting in between the 8 and 21. I don't care. Either way, it's getting close to it. We'll see if it actually tags it or not. I will be looking for a downtrend line break, even if we go onto the 30-minute here. This is still creating lower highs and lower lows. We need, on a shorter time frame, we need that to change. Okay, moving on. Apple. I have been waiting for an opportunity to get into this. I was watching here, been noting that it has been struggling at the 200, rejected, chopped around, rejected. It got some, this was earnings. And then, it came out with the Apple US manufacturing plan or something like that. And that since then, it just absolutely rocketed. I have been saying for me to want to get into this, I would want some sort of time correction, which seems like that's the route it's going to go, or a price correction. So time correcting is just spending time up here, letting the MAs catch up, and really just kind of creating a short-term base for it to potentially lead up from. So I'll be watching Apple later on this week as a potential entry. It does have my interest. Nvidia does too, but Apple is kind of ahead of that. Last week, I was watching Amazon. I said, hey, we got a strong push up, undercut the 50, claimed it on a pretty, you could say this might be an igniting bar. Next day, or really the next just 4 days, it flagged. I noted the flag. I said, hey, this might be flagging to the short-term MA. We might get a pop that gets us through the earnings gap fill. That is indeed what happened. I just got lucky in calling the potential. Either way, there is a little bit of a gap that's still untraded from, I don't know, what's the high here? 226.22 to the low here of 227.02. So there's that space in there. Maybe that'll come and get filled, and that could set a potential higher low versus this higher low here. So maybe we get a little pullback to here. That also aligns close to the 21 EMA. I got a pivot on gap there. So I would say, you know, this area of interest around 224 might be something to watch for it to either pull back to, bounce off of, tag and go, gap down and go, something like that. But my brain is on longs for Amazon right now. I'll be looking for a pullback to buy there. Broadcom, AVGO. This has just been grinding, right? This likes to undercut the 8, get tagged the 21, and then continue to grind up. I have not traded this. Excuse me. I haven't traded this. I just continue really to monitor it. I don't have much to say about it. It's just a chop, and it's a gapper and chopper. It likes to gap up and then chop. Meta, I did take a shot at this Friday. I'm pretty sure I got in on this Friday. I like I think you can call this a pennant. Broke out, retested, push higher. I don't know if it's going to fail or not. It doesn't matter as long as you manage your risk. It was unable to fill this earnings gap. Plus, when you zoom out, it's got a beautiful quote unquote cup and handle that everybody does indeed see. So nice rounding bottom, then the handle. So this is the cup, there's the handle. It broke out on earnings, so it's got an earnings gap to support the breakout of that cup and handle. So it's a pretty solid look from a technical analysis standpoint. It had an absolutely wonderful earnings. It crushed earnings. And so, you know, fundamental wise, we still have long-term game upside here. So I am still in Meta at this point in time. I plan on holding it until I get tagged out, which could potentially be Monday because my stop is below this blue box. Again, this is the 3-day pivot here. So my stop is right there. It's super freaking close. So any gap down, I'll be tagged out. Either way, if I get tagged out, I'll be looking to get back in with a potential signal. Netflix, I have been waiting for a potential to get back in ever since it popped from here. However, I just continue just to watch it go. It's been super wide in the opening ranges, so risk for my my process has been kind of blown out. Also, on Friday, did nothing but chop literally inside the opening range. So there is nothing to do there. I am looking for some sort of a pullback here. You can see that the short-term MAs are starting to round up again. I like this. Maybe it goes up and tags this 1261.15 to 1269.83 range. I got a pivot on gap here. It is untouched. It's also a gap in that area, even though those prices traded there. But so I'll be looking. Oh, that's interesting. Look at that. Right where right where the gap begins. So we could do that. So we can put in that gap on the daily here. Even though I wouldn't really mark this as a true gap because these overline from days. But either way, you know, from this high of 1246.50, high of 1246.94, pretty darn close where I found prior supply. I don't like that. I'm not going to trade off that, but some might. Either way, I'm looking for a pullback in Netflix for a potential entry. I don't want to get in now because risk is blown out at this point. It's moved 9% from the lows here. I'd like a little give back and an entry. Tesla, everybody and their grandmother has been watching this into last week specifically because of this triangle. It broke out, it did the retest. It has been a little tricky here, and so it's probably getting a lot of people confused, which is fine. I never took the trade because I never got a signal to enter, and so I've been saved through all of this. If you want to look at a shorter term, we are getting lower highs and lower lows still. So on a shorter time frame, that needs to change. Really, ideally, it changes soon. For you anchor VWAP people, you can put it up there. You can see it's rejected there. So we got to clear that so the average buyer is above that. If you trade that way, you can. But otherwise, Tesla will be interesting into this week. I think if it's going to move at some point in time, this week is going to be it. If not, it could just continue to chop around and do nothing and then just fake everybody out. That's always a potential. Nobody likes that potential, but it's, you got to talk about things that you don't like. So that's a potential. Google, I am in this. Google aggravated me on Friday, especially because it seems like somebody had a little fat finger move right there. Happened at the exact same time as on Apple too. So that came down, tagged me out. I said, heck it, trade is still valid. So I got back in. It might not be the best trading entry. I liked it because it had this consolidation, this little time correction, shorter term. Let the 8 EMA catch up. I got the signal to enter, and so I was playing it for the breakout. So we'll see if we get a breakout coming this week. However, at the same time, I could also see this. I could also see this tagging this area, right? And then like doing a little chop, setting up a handle, and then break out and then go. So that could be a potential. I'm not calling anything, but just thinking of things that could happen. And so it could just have a rounding cup, create a handle, and then break out. We'll see what actually happens. We'll see. CrowdStrike, this is mostly another gapper and chopper. However, on the downside, it has given some nice entries. I did note this quote-unquote bear flag to the 8 EMA for a potential break on Wednesday, on X, that is. So if you guys, I do these weekly videos, but I post every day on X. So follow me on X. It's in my in the description below. Then we get the break, right? So now we have an inside day. I've been saying, we're looking at the 200 EMA tag. I still think that's in play. I also still think, it might come back to a, was this a pivot on gap that I just messed up? I think so. Prior support area, right? So maybe it's going to come to prior support, pretty much lines up with the 200 EMA. So people like Confluence, which that would be Confluence. And then maybe we get a little chop and then it starts going back up. But either way, on the long side, it does indeed have some work to do, on my opinion. So I've been looking for shorts in there, just have not taken any. Now it's kind of similar to a bear flag look. We got a nice push down, little rest, push down. Now it's just chopping. So that 8 EMA is catching up. Watching for it to potentially open up here and then boom, and then go back down, right? And then maybe chop around and then, I don't know, we'll see. We haven't, I'm not saying this is going to happen, just a thought. We have not technically closed this gap. I have been calling for a gap fill for a while, ever since basically up here, saying that's a potential. It's very close to doing so. If this bottoms once it fills the gap, I don't know. It could go lower. It could turn around and hit all-time highs tomorrow. Not really, extremely unlikely, but you know my point. We don't know what's going to happen, so we just got to be prepared. My bias is still towards the downside because these EMAs are still trend tracking down. We're going to have a quote unquote death cross coming up here potentially tomorrow or over the next couple of days. The 50 EMA crossing the 200 EMA. So if you trade those, or people trade that stuff, I don't, but we'll have those traders taking advantage of that potentially if that's part of their edge. It's not part of mine though. Palantir, good old Palantir. This has been good to me pretty much, ever since this trend. I haven't touched it since the earnings gap up, and it just continued to grind. So congrats if you caught that. I am a long-term investor, so I've caught a good majority of this move, which is nice. However, I am looking for, price to attempt this earnings gap area. So we have the high of 169.22, which is the low of the earnings day. And then the high of the pre-earnings gap is 161.40. So looking to see if it wants to fill that, if it even attempts. The 21 EMA is now near the highs of that. Price did close below the 8 EMA. Not that it really matters too much because it's done it multiple times in the past. So that's not really significant, like, oh, this is the first time in forever. It does like to kind of get close to the 21. So I will be looking for a pullback. We have from the high on August 12th, which is Tuesday, to the low, we've had an 8.4% pullback. To the close on Friday is a 6.5% pullback. So I'll be watching this week for a potential entry. But again, looking at this blue box, I don't go long if price is below this. So for me, it's most likely, not just patterning, it's most likely going to take at least until Tuesday. If we even have a big move on Monday, I probably won't touch this till Tuesday or Wednesday. Hood, I tried to get in on Friday, but I did not because it gave me a very late signal intraday, and then it just never gave me an opportunity to get in. So, part of it, missed this one, but not that big of a deal. This is definitely on watch going into this week. Why? Because earnings, strong move down, undercut the 21, reclaimed, made a higher high, and now I am looking at this as being a potential higher low to continue the trend. So trends are higher highs being made and higher lows, right? Uptrends, higher highs, higher lows, downtrend, lower lows, lower highs. So this is creating a higher high and a higher low. So I'll be looking into this for sure coming into this week. That'll probably be my number one. All right. If this is helpful for you guys, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Follow me on X. I post up charts every night as nightly preparation. These are weekly prep videos just to get my thoughts out there. Make sure I'm not thinking anything stupid, even though you might think, but either way, yeah. And I am also part of a professional trading group. If you guys are interested in that and a professional mindset towards trading and techniques towards trading. Also, it's commodities, futures focused. I do a little bit of equities in there for the team as well. Let me know and I'll hook you up with our leader. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. And always, always, always manage your risk and be prepared. Later.